Githui Yuwat. Welcome to Africa 54. Here's what's coming up. U.S. President Joe Biden lavishes Kenyan President William Ruto with a state dinner and announces he will designate Kenya as a major non-NATO ally. Zambia's young people continue to be marginalized in decision-making despite representing over 70% of the country's 20 million people. And in our entertainment report, Heather Maxwell presents a montage of live music plus the new album released by one of South Africa's most influential post-apartheid singers. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. U.S. President Joe Biden lavished Kenyan President William Ruto with more than just pomp and polish on his first state visit on Thursday. Biden announced he would make the East African nation a major non-NATO ally, the first sub-Saharan nation to receive that status. The move signals the shifting of U.S. security cooperation to East Africa just as U.S. troops prepare to depart Niger. VOA's Anita Powell reports from the White House.
This is no mere handshake. This is the start of something much bigger. As President Joe Biden welcomed Kenyan President William Ruto to the White House Thursday for the first state visit by an African leader in nearly 16 years, he topped the soft power festivities, which included a lavish state dinner, with something much more concrete. Biden announced he'd recognize Kenya as a major non-NATO ally, a status that gives it privileged access to U.S. training and equipment.
That's a fulfillment of years of collaboration. Our joint counterterrorism operations have degraded ISIS and al-Shabaab across East Africa. Our mutual support for Ukraine has rallied the world to stand behind the UN Charter. And our work together on Haiti is helping pave the way to reduce instability and insecurity.
And Ruto reiterated his plea that the U.S. double its commitments to help restructure African nations' debts, most of which are to the world's largest creditor, China.
Unless this is done, and done immediately, the values of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law are in great jeopardy.
Analysts say Kenya's spotty human rights record, as documented by the U.S. State Department, raises concerns about how it will use its new privileged status.
Kenya has serious issues with things like extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances, and torture and cruel and inhumane and other forms of degrading punishment by government or on behalf of the government. And this is by the security forces. So there's going to be concerns that that part of the strategy is being abandoned, that the U.S. is no longer putting such a priority on democracy promotion in Africa, and the U.S. is really retrenching towards the security side of the security democracy paradigm.
Ruto also ironed out a number of other agreements during his day-long deliberations in Washington and discussed Kenya's delayed plans to send 1,000 security officers to the Caribbean nation of Haiti. The initiative, toward which the U.S. has pledged $300 million, faces stiff political and legal challenges in Kenya, and it's been delayed by political turmoil in Haiti. Ruto, who said he was looking forward to the deployment of forces to Haiti, did not give a date. Anita Powell, VOA News, the White House.
Some Kenyans are expressing frustration over President William Ruto's state visit to Washington, D.C. VOA's Mohammed Yusuf spoke to several people on the streets of Nairobi.
As Kenyan President William Ruto wraps up his visit to the United States, where he has secured more funds to develop roads and other infrastructure in Kenya. However, citizens have expressed mixed feelings about the visit.
I don't think if he has fulfilled the promises, because he had a narrative to the hustlers, and when you go to the ground, a lot of hustlers are crying. That's the first thing. Second thing is they always say they should be given time. I think time is not on their side now. It's almost 2 years.
I don't think this trip will benefit me in any way. I'm burdened with a hard economic situation. Business was doing fine before, but now the environment is not conducive.
The president's visit won't benefit us Kenyans. They keep on adding tax and imposing more tax on us. When tax is collected, it is used by one person, so it means people at the top are benefiting and us, we are suffering.
Since he came in the office, there is nothing that he has come out with. One of those things he promised that he will do to people. So whatever he's trying to do right now, we don't see if it will work, or we are not now trusting him anymore with whatever he's coming with. Yes, even if he go there, do whatever, we don't think if those things will be possible to ordinary people. Yes. Until he will do them is when we will now satisfied with what he's doing.
Now, Kenyans will shift their focus to the National Assembly, where lawmakers will debate the 2024-2025 budget in the coming weeks. Citizens are eager to see if the government will keep its 2022 election campaign promises to improve their lives, create jobs and spur economic growth. Mohammed Yusuf, VOA News, Nairobi.
For more on Ruto's state visit to the U.S., let's go live to Nairobi, Kenya, where Wellington Nyongesa, news editor with the Kenya Television Network, is standing by. Hello, Wellington. Tell us how President Ruto's state visit is being covered by Kenyan media there.
Thank you very much, Geshuhi. Esther Geshuhi, thank you very much. The media has been very skeptical about the president's travels because compared to his predecessors, President Ruto has traveled. The number of times he's been out of the country are quite a number. And so from the time it was announced that he was coming over to America, to the US, the media was very skeptical because of what the people were saying. That, of course, Kenyans are battling with a high cost of living. Life has become a bit difficult for most of the countrymen, but the president seemed to have funds to fly out. And so when we received reports that he was coming to meet President Joe Biden in the US, the media had this fly, was basically very skeptical, and that is what we've reported. And when he landed, of course, Kenyans were complaining that the reports that they got was that the president was meeting creative people of the creative industry in Atlanta. And of course, he had not come to the White House. But when now news broke that now he was meeting the sitting president of America, President Joe Biden, there was a bit of excitement in the country. But then even after that, Kenyans were asking now, what is the president bringing home? Yeah. So basically, it's been very skeptical. The media has been skeptical, and also the people are also quite skeptical about the president's travels.
Well, there were reactions here from the diaspora, Wellington, talking about, trying to inject some businesses, get some favorable things for Kenyans. But what are Kenyans really expecting when he returns to the country?
Kenyans, the first thing that they expect is that whatever the president will come back home with are funds that are gonna be put in the economy to lower the cost of living. Because the country now, Kenyans are battling with the basic things of life: food, transport, employment, jobs. But now the deals that were signed appear so high-end. And in fact, the video that you just played showed Kenyans complaining that perhaps the deals that have been signed might not come to the ground to benefit Mwananchi. This is a country where people have gone to school, thousands of graduates are looking for jobs, and things have become a bit harder compared to the previous administration that the current president was very critical of. And so even the promises he gave, the campaign mantra was based on this narrative called the hustler narrative, because Mwananchi, the greater percentage of Kenyans identified with that, thinking that perhaps this government, when it comes into power, is going to lower the cost of living. And so what the Kenyan expects when the president lands, I don't know whether it's going to be tomorrow, Saturday, or Sunday at dawn, is that whatever he has brought home is going to be placed in the economy, if it is funds, so that the cost of living can be lowered. That is what the countrymen expects, Judy.
In Wellington, very quickly, any reactions from Kenyans on the Haitian mission?
In fact, it was very interesting when one of the journalists that had traveled with the president to the US asked that question in the presence of the host president, Joe Biden, that already there is the northern part of this country is torn. It is an insecurity-prone zone. And so it is a bit, I don't know whether to use the word sparflers was a bit unwise for this country that battles with insecurity in a larger part of its territory. The northern part of Kenya is always very insecure, and even there are hotspots of insecurity in cities. So how would a country that battles with insecurity internally deploy a team to a country that is that has a history of violence? So
we're going to have to leave it there, Wellington, because of time. But let's hope you get the goodies you're expecting when President Ruto returns there. Wellington,
thank you, Gishu.
We appreciate your insight. Our thanks to Wellington Nyongesa, news editor with the Kenya Television Network in Nairobi, Kenya. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and Kenyan President William Ruto on Friday are participating in the U.S.-Kenya Business Forum at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce here in Washington. The forum is celebrating the growing commercial partnerships between the U.S. and Kenya. VOA's Paul Ndiho is at the event and has this report.
The U.S.-Kenya Business is a place where Kenyans, alongside U.S. investors, U.S. government and U.S. government agencies come together to figure out a way to deal with how they can cooperate going forward. There are a lot of investors in U.S. interested in investing in Kenya, but they don't know how. So this forum here is to bring together people who are on the business side, the government side, and trying to figure out a way to work together to foster this relationship that has been going on for nearly 60 years. The timing of this business forum could not have come at a better time. You have a lot of U.S. companies that want to invest directly in Africa, and you have Kenyan companies that want to invest here as well. So the two are meeting here to figure out a way to do business together. Google to Flutterwave to Siemens to Abbott, all of them, they want to be strategic partners with companies here in the United States and in Kenya. They are looking forward to continue engaging in a relationship that spans over 60 years. And today, having the President of Kenya here, having the business community from Kenya and the business community from the United States here signifies that and tells us more about what these opportunities mean for the country. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Washington, D.C.
Young people continue to be marginalized in Zambia's decision-making, particularly in politics, despite representing over 70% of the country's 20 million people. But youths like 23-year-old Tapera Mbewe, the youngest award-winning award counselor in the country, are defying the odds and taking up political leadership roles. Kathy Short reports from Lusaka.
Tapera Mbewe made history as Zambia's youngest ward councillor when she secured a seat in the rural district of Rufunsa in 2021's general election. She recalls the challenges she encountered in earning the trust of her constituents.
We were in a room with 20 interviewers, and I was the only woman who was being interviewed out of everyone who had come. Actually, when I got there, they were even surprised. They asked me to say, "Are you sure you haven't escorted someone, or it's you who's come for the adoption?" So yes, that's how I got here.
Tapera has already scored some successes in her area, such as helping young girls return to school even after getting pregnant, and setting up a student's body to enable young people to participate in local politics. At first, the elders in her community were not convinced.
It didn't come on a silver platter, I'll be honest. There were so many challenges I faced. To start with, I stood in a rural area. So that means culture and tradition come first before anything else. So there was a lot of tension between me and the traditional leaders, because they couldn't accept seeing someone as young as me and a woman as well being their leader, someone they have to report to.
Tapera's mother, Charity Ntewewe Mbewe, says that her daughter has always been an active leader. She is not surprised by her rise in leadership.
We've shaped her to be what she is today. During her growing up, I used to take her she used to follow me, not really taking her to where I used to go, but following me, like to community meetings. And she was like this child who would always be like, "Mom, where are you going? I want to see what you do." So me being in that rural setup, Tapera used to follow me to community meetings, church meetings, and this really helped her how to interact with people.
Apart from being an elected politician for the opposition Patriotic Front Party, Tapera is also a lawyer. She says she wants to use her legal expertise to represent the voiceless in society. Her childhood dream is to one day become the president of Zambia.
I will not stop until I am president of Zambia. So my vision is, I want a Zambia that is youth inclusive. I want a Zambia where we don't have to fight to get a seat at the table. It should be there. The seat should be, we should be expected to be participating in politics.
Charity Ntewewe Mbewe says she is extremely happy and proud to watch her daughter blossom into a promising leader in mainstream Zambian politics.
As a mother, I'm proud. You know, to play a role in shaping a national leader like Tapera and helping her realize her dream, to me, I'm proud.
Kathy Short, VOA News, Lusaka, Zambia.
The International Court of Justice on Friday is ordering Israel to halt its military operations in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Israel, however, insists it has the right to defend itself from Hamas militants and is unlikely to comply with the ruling. The order by the ICJ further increases international pressure on Israel to curb its war on Hamas in Gaza. Friday's decision marks the third time this year the 15-judge panel has issued a preliminary order seeking to rein in the death toll and alleviate humanitarian suffering in Gaza. Although the orders are legally binding, the court has no police to enforce them. Women voters are more than half of the U.S. electorate. VOA correspondent Scott Stearns reports on what presidential candidates Democrat Joe Biden and Republican Donald Trump are doing to win women's votes.
Much of this presidential campaign's focus on women voters is centered on abortion laws and reproductive rights. But American women care about more than just abortion, and the campaigns are reaching out on broader issues, including the economy, healthcare, and crime. In Minnesota, voter Rebecca Jensen says President Joe Biden deserves credit for making what she says are the right decisions.
I think things about the environment are very important. I think the economy is important, and healthcare. I'm a nurse, and so I still see COVID at work frequently. And people keep saying we're post-pandemic, but we're really not. We're still in the midst of it. So I just think that that having somebody that believes in science in the White House is a good thing.
In Nevada, voter Julie Bemb wants a second term for Donald Trump.
He was good for the economy. There was no war. There was harmony. There was peace. We were all working. The gas prices were normal. I mean, he was an amazing man. He loves his country. He's a good person. He raised a good family, and we're going to get him back.
Biden is targeting women voters with a White House initiative on women's health research.
Think of all the breakthroughs we've made in medicine across the board, but women have not been the focus. Research has been taking much too long to get to y'all.
When you say to a family, that if you come, we're going to break you up. They don't come.
The Biden campaign released a Mother's Day social media ad attacking Trump's policy of separating immigrant families, telling voters to, quote, "Do the moms in your life a favor, stop Trump." Trump told a meeting of conservative Christian women that he'll bring peace to Europe.
Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled.
Trump is also working to appeal to women voters with get tough messages on crime and immigration.
I think I do great with the suburban housewives because they want to remain safe. But they loot the jewelry, they take their purses, electronics, watches, all of their cash, and the people come back and they say, what happened? If you don't want illegal alien criminals crawling through your windows and ransacking your drawers, then you must vote for the fact that we have to throw crooked Joe Biden out as fast as possible, the damage he can do.
The Center for American Women in Politics says more women have voted than men in every U.S. presidential election since 1980. In their 2020 race, Pew Research data says Biden won the women's vote by 11 percentage points over Trump. Scott Stearns, VOA News.
Would like to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come in our entertainment report, South Africa's music sensation, Thandiswa Mazwai. We'll be back.
The African warrior queen, the Black Princess, or other super sheroes with afros are growing in popularity in comics. This week on Our Voices, we will dive into the comic world where creators contribute to the richness and diversity of the medium through their art in ways that resonate with all races and genders. Join the conversation each week right here on Our Voices.
Where stories come alive from the heart of Africa, it's the BAL playoffs and finals. It goes up and it goes. Join us in Kigali, Rwanda from May 24th to June 1st at the BK Arena. The biggest show in African basketball is here. 8 teams battling for the championship. Grab your tickets now at ticket.rw. Be part of history, all for the final.
In other news, Ghana on Friday has agreed to a memorandum of understanding with its bilateral creditors, including China and France, to restructure $5.4 billion of debt, according to government sources. It paves the way for the executive board of the International Monetary Fund to approve the disbursement of $360 million under Ghana's $3 billion three-year bailout program. The United Nations World Food Programme says extreme weather attributed to the El Niño phenomenon is causing a surge in hunger in several countries, including Zambia and Afghanistan. The WFP is calling on donors for much-needed help. Tens of millions of people in southern Africa rely on the weather to grow food to feed themselves. And Mahamat Debe Itno has been sworn in as the president of Chad, completing a disputed transition to democratic rule after he seized power 3 years ago. The long-delayed elections were held on May 6th. His main rival, Sukse Masra, who contested the election results, resigned from his post as prime minister on Wednesday. It's time for our entertainment report. Heather Maxwell, host of the Music Time in Africa radio show, brings us a new music alert and live music from South Africa. And no, it's not Amapiano.
Hi everyone. South Africa's Thandiswa Mazwai is one of the most influential post-apartheid singers. Earlier this year, she was in Washington, D.C. performing on National Public Radio's Tiny Desk. She was promoting the release of her new album that has dropped May 10th. Let's take a look at a montage of that performance.
Mozambique. We are one. That's our power in the world.
And that was Thandiswa Mazwai. Her new album, Sankofa, is out and available on all streaming platforms. That's it for entertainment. Happy Africa Day.
Be sure to join Heather Maxwell's entertainment reports every Friday here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.